You're listening to the Men's Health Foundation podcast. I'm David Watson.
And I'm Tristan Huo.
Men's Health Foundation is a healthcare provider where exceptional care is delivered with cultural competency to meet your individual needs. Specializing in men's health, caring for all.
Each episode, we welcome members of our care team to discuss trending topics in medicine and wellness to help you take charge of your health.
When we think about body image issues, most people picture someone wanting to lose weight. But what about those who feel they're never big enough? On today's episode, we're joined by Angela Bartolome, LCSW, Behavioral Health Director at Men's Health Foundation, to unpack what bigorexia really is, how it shows up, and why compassion, not judgment, is key to helping those who are struggling. Here's our conversation about bigorexia, the pressures behind it, and the path toward healthier self-perception. Starting with Angela's definition of bigorexia.
I think it's really important just to keep it as simple as possible. It's when someone becomes obsessive, or like it just the perspective of where they are muscularly is being too small or not enough becomes a preoccupation of their thoughts. And that already by itself is like where it can take up more space in their day-to-day functioning. So that impairment is in how they look at themselves in the mirror, and instead of seeing their beautiful whole self, they might see like, oh, it's just so small, it's not enough, versus being a good, healthy, fit person.
Right, yeah. And how would you say that would differ from other more classic dysmorphic disorders or eating disorders?
Yeah, because a lot of other dysmorphias or disorders, a lot of the times the more commonly recognized is like anorexia, is they're not small enough. Everything's so large, and in their perception of themselves, this mole is taking up their whole face. Or like you see this little love handle might be like, that's all everyone sees. And it's kind of just the flip opposite side. It's like the occupation of their sense of self is in this unhealthy or unrealistic sense of their self.
Right, yeah. And what are some common signs you'd say for those who might be struggling with this? Like what should people look out for?
Yeah, I think some of the red flags are someone going to the gym constantly, like 2 hours every single day, freaking out if they miss a workout because they're going to lose some gains. They work out even when there's injury or they're sick. Checking themselves in the mirror incessantly and avoiding them altogether because of how they see themselves. It's not a fit for the version of themselves that they want to see. So that's where we're like, oh, this could be other things too, but those are some of the red flags we watch out for.
What do you think as far as in gay male spaces, like on dating apps or in nightlife, maybe in gyms and neighborhoods? How do you think there's a pressure? How does that affect their pressure to look a certain way? Just those environments.
I think that's a huge pressure of their environments, because there's so many folks, let's say in the gay community, that are around each other, and aesthetics is a very important feature of it, right? And one of the hard parts is that like we kind of become in a fishbowl where everyone's checking each other out. It's this unspoken competition, even within themselves or on their dating apps. Apps like Grindr, they're brutal. Like you critique each other so intensely already, and now it just intensifies the self-perception, or like the need to have like, I need to have a good shirtless picture or else they're not going to be seeing me. I'm not going to be attractive enough. And then a lot of like the bars and the club scene can often like really rip some guys apart with the attention and like the need for validation, and can create this like unhealthy feedback loop where social environments can feel very validating, exciting, and like rejuvenating for folks. This is like, all right, now we're going to go in there and it's going to be a physique competition without it needing to be.
Do you think that that's a bigger issue in Los Angeles versus in other areas?
Not even in Los Angeles, I think in West Hollywood in particular, because
Sure.
the gay communities in West Hollywood aren't always enveloped in the gay communities as a whole, right? And it can feel very isolating and like just a higher concentration of gyms, and where there's like high-end gyms, there's a lot of fitness oriented shops, stores, even like just the the bars and clubs. It's a lot more prevalent where being sexual appeal is important, and it can be very like hard for someone to gauge some of the realities of how valuable they are as a whole person.
And how about even on social media? Like I think about when I say that, like Instagram, TikTok, even OnlyFans. Like, how do you feel like that's changing the way that men think about their bodies?
I think that's a large part. Like historically, people used to think that it's just women struggling with these body issues. However, I think these social media just makes it more heightened and harder to challenge and refute when half of the commenters are saying trash things, and any progress someone may make gets knocked down 1,000 times over. Or like these very unrealistic expectations of the body or the self, it can make it really hard to really gauge where do I fit in all of this. And I think that's a big emphasis of social media is often like this ideal perception of life when it's far from it. And then people can feel even further alienated or even further outside of belonging um, because of just the unrealistic expectations or perceptions.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's clear that there's a huge mental toll that these dysmorphias create and cause an impact on people. So, what would you say is the role that anxiety, depression, or trauma play in fueling these different body image struggles?
It's funny because I feel like that's usually that's the underlying of a lot of this stuff, right? It's rarely that it's standalone. It didn't come up by itself. Usually, anxiety can make a guy very hyper focused on their body as something that they can control when the world it isn't something they can control. The judgment, the dangers, the politics, they can't control that, but I can control how fit I am or how much time I dedicate to this because it's something that you can't take away from me. And then very similarly, like depression messes with the self-worth so that they think that getting bigger or being more ripped is going to make them feel better about themselves when no matter how big they might get, it's still not matching the way that they perceive themselves. And with trauma, I specialize more than anything in trauma more than anything else, and I feel like that has so many underlying tones of where a lot of issues show up for folks, especially in the gay community, because this childhood bullying, the sexual abuse, the rejection, even the sense of like not being able to be proud of who they were as soon as they recognized who they were as as a whole person, not just as a gay male or a gay man, but just because they wanted to be. They deserve to be proud of, how fun they are, how enjoyable they are as a person. It can make someone really feel that their body failed to protect them. And so they try
Mm.
to build this armor of muscle and bigness. And for gay men specifically, minority of this like on top of the stress of everything in the environment, like there's this need for perfectionism and this appearance to be how they can be valued and protected. And there is a degree of like, pretty privilege that folks can gain with that. And so, it's hard to just treat it. I don't For me, I won't treat it by itself because usually it didn't come in by itself. Didn't come It's not
Mm.
organic.
Yeah, it seems very complex and a lot to dismantle. So, what do you think are some kinds of treatments or therapeutic approaches that you would use that you think would be effective for men dealing with muscle dysmorphia?
I mean, very commonly, I feel like the fundamentals of a lot of therapy and just really understanding a person is very CBT oriented, where it's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a very solid approach for challenging those distorted thoughts about body size, about what they're looking for in themselves. Exposure therapy is really helpful, where guys can gradually reduce the mirror checking or the measuring. Um, Avoiding certain unhealthy gym behaviors, where looking at other men might like make them look down on themselves, right? Where we want to look at body focused therapies like somatic work that can help them reconnect to their actual whole self, to their sensations versus just the appearance of the appearances, right? Group therapy is always usually helpful if we can get it. Usually it's such a specialized request to talk about that, but group therapies that don't always have to be specific to muscle dysphoria, but could be general, like anxiety could also help, and how it shows up in that obsessive pattern of behavior. So those can help in realizing that they're not alone. It's not something that they're the only guy dealing with. And it's not just, of course, it's not just West Hollywood, right? And it's not also not just the gay community, it's the bodybuilding community. It's the just the community struggling with dysmorphia, where like social media just makes it a whole mixed bag of stress. So
Hmm.
for me, the key to treating it is underlying treating the anxiety and depression that usually come with it. And it's not just the body image stuff, but it's usually what's driving everything. So if we can treat that, the body dysphoria improves also.
Mhm. And on top of the therapy and all of these different approaches, how would you say that friends or chosen family members can support somebody who's going through this?
Yeah. I think so much in society we're so big on like, "Oh, I like your hair. I like this. You look good. You look this. You're looking like you're losing weight." As kind and as benign as those compliments can feel and seem, ideally, I hope we get to a point that we're not commenting on each other's bodies. It's like, "Oh,"
Hmm.
or like not like, "Oh, you look great. Oh, you're getting so big. Oh, look at you. You can tell you're spending a lot of time at the gym," because they can literally can't hear it. It's instead on focusing beyond their issues, like, "I love how you've been able to maintain a dedicated schedule for yourself. It seems like you've been taking care of, like, your energy and that your vibe feels good." And gently calling out when gym or diet stuff is taking over their life, because sometimes they might feel like I can't go to my mom's birthday because I have to do my 4 hours at the gym. I'm like, okay, so when like, hey, can we look at maybe spending 2 hours there so you can have 2 hours with your mom? And like, no, we're not goal. The goal is not to shame someone about it, but just trying to figure out how they can also incorporate healthy balance in their life again that don't revolve around their physical appearance or their fitness. If they're open to it, help them find a therapist. I mean, it's stuff that I, I haven't had too much of it here yet at MHF. However, people are saying words and tones that I'm like, oh, I can hear where that behavior is showing up, but I'm here actually treating their anxiety and depression anyway. So I'm going to keep monitoring that. So as a clinician, that's what I'm, trying to keep a lookout for. And so hopefully the same as us in the community, we're looking at their whole person of what would help them feel like included in the community despite how big or small they are.
And talking about body image with in the clinic and in the therapy room, when body image intersects with a sense of masculinity, a desirability, how do you see those dynamics play out when you're working with patients that or clients that, maybe going through this? Or I feel like it's something that is goes beyond gay men too. I feel like it's something that affects um, just about everybody. I feel like certainly a lot of the men I know, this is something that's just a factor for them, and maybe oftentimes I think a source of insecurity. So how do you see that play out?
So this can be controversial in how I say this. So,
Okay.
but I think that there's a patriarchal like violence that men also have to like experience of what the standards are of being a good enough man. And
Mm.
I think that for gay men, especially navigating this weird space of who they're attracted to, where their masculinity is, how they have to perform, it's this like double bind, like golden handcuffs that they might also just be stuck with. Like, I love who I am, but these things are also weighing in on me. So in sessions, guys can talk and feel like, you know, being masculine enough is what means that they're going to be desirable or not. But being too masculine, they might lose their gay identity. So it's
Mm.
really exploring like what would creating their whole self be or mean to them? And it's interesting because, like, as much as in a lot of the gay community that we work with, love the gym, and as important as fitness itself is, would you do like, would it sacrifice? Would the gym time sacrifice other parts of your well-being? And where you're now overcompensating from the risk of being too feminine or overcompensating with hypermasculinity through their bodies. And therapy ideally works to unpack a lot of these messages of what would make someone worthy or lovable or desirable, and helping them separate their actual attraction patterns from societal pressures.
That's powerful. Do you think that men of color, trans men, or men living with HIV have unique challenges around body image compared to others?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Because Black and Latino men often deal with the racist body of stereotypes being fetishized, like,
Mhm.
ooh, looking for that thuggish look or that exotic look, versus like someone who just it might not always sound like it's coming from a racial or discriminant perspective, but that all by itself is like, okay, so I have to be bigger so that I can fulfill this. They're not gonna want, I've heard this, that nobody wants a fat gay man. They want me like this. It's like, so they're experiencing that they have to a persona to fill. And especially when I'm also like, I haven't heard too much here, but when working in the API community, a lot of Asian men will frequently struggle with being seen as less masculine, especially in gay spaces, leading to a lot of intense pressure to bulk up or to um, be this like buff, like overly muscular guy just to be just as competitive in the dating and desirable community. So, and then then we add the cultural stuff, which is a whole new layer, and like family expectations, religious backgrounds. It can really make body dysmorphia feel very isolating.
Yeah, that sounds so complicated, and there's so many different elements to that. So, for people who might be dealing with this, what do you think they can do to build a healthy relationship with fitness in their bodies? What's like a good first step for them?
I think it's a lot of one of that's this is actually one of the harder reasons that coming into treatment can be so hard, is because seeing this as a problem or seeing this area as an area of concern, usually people aren't going to come in unless there's a severe injury, there's been impairments, and like they're struggling in other parts of their life. That's usually why they might come into treatment. Um, so what they can do to be healthier in their body is just maybe one is having somebody that they trust, like not someone social influencer level where they're that's their baseline, but someone that they can set boundaries around, like what is appropriate gym time, what is like talking to their doctor about like, hey, how are my just general like fitness levels, minimizing like, hey, when there's injury, this is how I can not worsen my injury by having a boundary of not working out, and really like exploring the activities that they genuinely enjoy. And if it also includes like getting fit and healthy, great, but hopefully focusing it on that. But if the gym becomes something that's more stressful or adds another layer of anxiety and sadness or like helplessness, then let's pull someone into like, hey, would you want to talk to a therapist? Or would you want to just even talk to someone who just would want to hear you out in a peer community setting? There's a lot of folks who've already gone through it, and it might not have been such a huge problem where it was pervasive for months or years on end, but like, hey, I started noticing my unhealthy habits, and this is what I did to take care of myself, and feeling very comfortable and proud of what this meant for me. I think just also that peer leadership means a lot, because as a heterosexual woman, like it's easy to be like, what do you know? Very true. Like, what do I know? Nothing compared to what you want to share with me and what I can offer, and your humility and my humility. Hopefully, we find the same page together.
Mm. I'd love to ask if someone is like, they're scrolling on Instagram, they're on TikTok, whatever, maybe a dating app, maybe they're on Grindr, and maybe it gets them to start feeling bad about their body. What's a sort of quick mental reset they could do in that moment to shift gears?
It's funny because like I harp on this a lot. A lot of us forget that we don't breathe regularly or like healthfully. We breathe because we're holding our breath. We breathe because we're trying not to pass out. But just to connect with our body, it's our only regulatory system that we like cognitively have control over. So how often do we use it just to like check in with how our body feels? Use it so that like, hey, is anything sore? Does anything need a rest? Does does my body hurt or do I feel good? And I think that's one of the strategies that I hope people just incorporate. Um, and I know like in the gay community and also very marginalized communities, feeling isolated is so common at some point. So building that community intentionally might be one day at a time of just talking to your doctor, talking to your provider about like, hey, do you know anyone that might be someone to talk to or just bounce ideas from? We might have to use the label of therapy just to feel like, hey, like I need to build community. Fine, my job is to work on finding community with you, not necessarily with you, but where do you feel safe and where can we pull them in?
That's a really great answer. I think, sort of in summary, what is one thing that you think our listeners can take away that they can apply to their own lives in terms of building their own self-esteem or reevaluating how they look at their own body?
I think it's one thing, it's to build that mind body connection takes work because our society isolates us from community, isolates us from being part of ourselves, where our productivity is value. I think if you have the luxury and the privilege to connect with yourself and work on that, please take up that time and space. You deserve it. And we might not all be the best fit for what you're looking for, but let's figure out who is. And it might not be therapy, it might be a community space, it might be like a recovery group, it might be just folks who just like walking together. Maybe they don't do the gym, but they just want to walk together because it's a social network. So I think community is so nourishing and it's such a life force that we underestimate its healing properties. So I always try to use that as a platform because I'm not a very traditional like therapy fixes everything. No, community was healing before we had the terms of therapy. So let's bring that back.
I
That
love
was
that.
beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Angela. Really appreciate the conversation and all of the tips. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A huge thank you to Angela Bartolome, LCSW, for sharing her insights on bigorexia, body image, and mental health. We hope this conversation encourages reflection, compassion, and understanding for yourself and others.
If you or someone you know is struggling with body image or related mental health concerns, remember that help is available and that reaching out is a sign of strength. To make an appointment for our behavioral health services at Men's Health Foundation, visit menshealthfound.org or call us at 310 550 1010.